The warning came so quietly that it almost disappeared beneath the hum of the diner's air conditioner and the clink of plates. But when she said it, something in the air shifted, as if the day itself held its breath. The man with the black leather jacket and weathered hands froze mid-step, his shadow stretching long across the sunlit floor. He had faced storms on open highways and silence in empty deserts, yet 4 simple words from a stranger cut deeper than any danger he had known. "You need to hear this." And in that moment, without fully understanding why, he knew his life was about to fracture into a before and an after. If you believe in second chances, in the idea that truth can still find us before it's too late, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Kindora Life. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that may need them most. His name was Rowan Hale, and for most of his 43 years, he had lived by one rule: keep moving. Movement had saved him more times than he could count. When things hurt, he rode. When memories clawed at him, he rode faster. The Hell Angel's patch on his back was not just an emblem of loyalty but a shield, a way to tell the world he belonged somewhere, even if he never fully belonged to himself. On this clear daytime morning, Rowan had stopped at a roadside diner he'd passed 100 times before, not because he was hungry, but because his mind was crowded. In a week, he was supposed to marry the woman everyone said was perfect for him. Organized, calm, polished. Everything he was not. The idea of settling down felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure whether the ground ahead was solid or an illusion. The diner smelled of coffee and warm bread, sunlight pouring in through wide windows, illuminating dust motes that drifted lazily in the air. That was where Mara worked. She was 29, with tired eyes that noticed too much and hands that trembled just slightly when she poured coffee. She had learned to read people the way others read books, not because she wanted to, but because life had taught her it was safer that way. When Rowan walked in, she noticed the weight in his steps, the way his shoulders held tension like a coiled wire. He wasn't loud or threatening. He was quiet, which somehow felt heavier. As she served him, she felt a strange pull, an unease she couldn't name. It wasn't fear. It was recognition. She had seen that look before in people who thought they were choosing safety but were really choosing silence. Rowan ate slowly, staring out the window as if the road beyond it might offer answers. He was thinking about his fiancée, Celeste Wynne, and how everyone admired her efficiency, her ability to smooth over chaos with a smile. She had entered his life at a time when he was tired of unpredictability. With her, everything had a plan. Dates were scheduled. Emotions were discussed like items on a checklist. He told himself that was what peace looked like. Mara wrestled with herself for several minutes before she spoke. She told herself it wasn't her place, that she was just a waitress in a diner he'd likely never visit again. But the feeling wouldn't let go. When she finally leaned slightly closer, her voice low and urgent, it was as if the truth pushed itself out of her before fear could stop it. She told him there was something he needed to know, something about the woman he was about to marry. Rowan felt the world tilt. His first instinct was anger. Who was this stranger to question his life? Yet something in her eyes wasn't accusatory. It was pleading. The words she shared weren't dramatic. They were careful, almost painful to say. Mara explained that Celeste had come through the diner several times over the past months. Always alone, always watching, always asking subtle questions about Rowan. Not the kind of questions someone asks out of love, but out of control. She spoke of moments when Celeste's smile slipped, revealing impatience and cold calculation. She mentioned overheard phone calls, conversations about leverage and image, about shaping someone into what the world expected them to be. As Mara spoke, Rowan felt heat rise in his chest, then drain away, leaving a hollow ache. He wanted to dismiss it. He wanted to believe this was jealousy or misunderstanding. But fragments of his own experience began clicking into place. He remembered how Celeste corrected his stories in front of others, gently but firmly. How she encouraged him to distance himself from his club, framing it as concern for his future. How every disagreement ended with him apologizing, unsure how he'd crossed a line. These memories had felt insignificant on their own. Together, they formed a pattern he could no longer ignore. Rowan stood so abruptly that his chair scraped loudly against the floor, drawing glances from other diners. He didn't speak. He couldn't. His hands shook as he walked out into the bright daylight, the sky suddenly too open, too exposed. Outside, the sun was high, casting sharp shadows across the asphalt. Rowan leaned against his motorcycle, breathing hard, trying to steady himself. He told himself to calm down, to verify, to not let a stranger's words unravel everything. But his body knew the truth before his mind caught up. He had spent years escaping cages he recognized too late. Was he about to walk willingly into another one? The thought terrified him more than any road he had ever ridden. Celeste arrived later that afternoon, her car pulling smoothly into the lot like everything else she did. She stepped out, composed, her presence immediately altering the space around her. When she saw Rowan, relief crossed her face, quickly replaced by concern at his expression. He studied her as if seeing her for the first time. In the harsh honesty of daylight, the cracks were visible. The way her eyes measured him. The way her smile waited for his response before fully forming. He didn't accuse her. He simply asked questions, the kind he had avoided before. Each answer was precise, rehearsed. And with every word, the distance between them grew. Rowan felt something inside him harden, then break. He realized that love should not feel like erasure. Commitment should not require shrinking oneself to fit someone else's vision. The life he had fought for, messy and imperfect as it was, deserved honesty. In a moment that felt suspended in time, Rowan made a choice that froze him not with fear, but with clarity. He told Celeste he needed space, that the wedding was off. The words tasted bitter and liberating all at once. Her composure cracked, just briefly, enough to confirm everything he needed to know. Days passed. Rowan rode without destination, letting the road absorb his confusion. He thought about Mara often, about the courage it took to speak up when silence would have been easier. Eventually, he returned to the diner. The same sunlight streamed through the windows. Mara looked up, surprise flickering across her face before she masked it with professionalism. Rowan didn't say much. He didn't need to. His presence was the message. He ordered coffee, sat quietly, and for the first time in a long while, felt present rather than restless. Life didn't magically fix itself. There were difficult conversations, lonely nights, and moments of doubt. But there was also relief. A sense of alignment he hadn't felt in years. Rowan began reconnecting with the parts of himself he had set aside. He rode with intention, not escape. He listened more, including to himself. And he learned that strength wasn't just about enduring pain, but about choosing truth even when it cost you comfort. Near the end of summer, Rowan stood outside the diner again, helmet in hand, watching the world move at its own pace. Mara stepped out during her break, the two sharing a quiet understanding that didn't need words. What she had given him wasn't romance or rescue. It was honesty at a crossroads. And that, Rowan knew, had changed the trajectory of his life. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that listening to uncomfortable truths can sometimes save us, please take a moment now to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps these stories find others who might be standing at their own crossroads.